Have you ever watched those scratch repair videos on YouTube and thought to yourself, wow, that looks easy, I can do that? Well, that was me, and here is the result of my first attempt. And honestly, I can't say that I'm very happy with it. Luckily, this BMW i3 has a lot of scratches, so let's try again and go over what not to do at the same time. On this BMW i3, the scratch goes from here all the way to the front. So I've attempted to repair this part and obviously it doesn't look very good. So what I'm gonna try to do now is actually attempt to repair the door. So you can see there's a lot of pretty deep scratch. Well, it's one scratch, but there's some deep areas right here. So I'm gonna be trying to repair this entire panel, hopefully using slightly better technique, and I'll take you along with me. First thing we have to do is assess the depth of the scratch. So usually you can just run your finger on the scratch and see how deep it is. So there's some parts that are not very deep at all. Hopefully those can be sanded out without having to refill the paint. But of course there's parts like this where it's gone all the way through the clear coat and it's actually into the base coat. So we'll have to add a little bit of paint right here. Same thing right there. So as you can see, that's pretty deep. Also right here, and then the rest we might be able to get away with just sanding the clear coat. So let's give that a try. And of course you can also test this by spraying some water on this line, on the scratch line, and seeing if it disappears. If it disappears, it should be basically able to buff it out. I will be starting with 15 grit paper, and I'm gonna put it on this styrofoam block that I just cut out. This way it's pretty soft and it kind of contours to the actual bodywork, and should be a little bit easier to make this all nice and flat. I'm gonna go dry, and then I'm gonna keep feeling for that little ridge, and if there is no ridge, I can't feel the actual scratch anymore, then we should be able to buff it out. If I can still feel it after a bit of sanding, then we have to fill it in. I will also be using smaller pieces like this, just to make it a little bit easier in areas where I want to concentrate on. Using this method, you can see that the line is still definitely there because some of that dust is getting into it. So we can keep going until it's gone, or that might be a little too much, so we may need to fill this in. I'm gonna keep going and then we're gonna decide in a little bit. After some sanding, I'm gonna clean it with some isopropyl alcohol and see what remains. So clearly we have a lot of scratches on the car now, but most of them should be able to buff out. So if we go just like that, you can see what disappears and what stays. See, like this part remains, but that disappears. So basically we will have to touch this up. And now we can pretty clearly see which areas need to be filled in. So this right here, right there, right there. I think the rest of it should be more or less invisible after we're done. Maybe just a little bit of a scratch, but at least it's not gonna be standing out against the paint. Speaking of paint, I'm gonna mix half base coat with half clear coat right here. So here's my clear coat, that's a cap full. I'm gonna put that in. And we're gonna take another cap full of base color and mix that in with the clear coat. Mix it all up and give it, I don't know, like 5 minutes or so to sit. That's about the same. Now I'm just gonna mix it up. We really don't need a lot of it. We'll literally probably use like a drop or two. All right, I'm just gonna let it sit for a few minutes and then we're gonna apply it. I got myself a set of these little picks, and that's what I'm gonna be using to apply the paint. You can probably do better if you get a specialty pen, but I'm just gonna use this and literally apply it to the scratch. And if it doesn't look perfect, that's all right. I am still learning. Because obviously the more paint we put on, the more work it will be to take it off. And that was my biggest mistake with the previous attempt. So I had to work a huge area for the same amount of scratches I'm working on here. So hopefully it will work better this time. Ideally I would use a UV light for 5 to 10 minutes and then it should be ready to go. But instead I'm just gonna drive the car into the sun and let the sun cure this paint for probably half an hour or so. And now we can take a closer look in the sun to see what we have done. As you can see, we've sanded down that scratch. Yes, it's still visible, but I feel like it's much flatter. So I'm thinking of just leaving it as is. And we're only gonna be filling out these little areas that I have, well, filled out. I'm gonna, of course, then sand that down and try to buff it out and polish and everything else. If that works, awesome. If there's anything left, I might do a second round. Like I said, I'm still learning, but hopefully it comes out better than it was. After some drying time, it's time to sand this down, and we can check to make sure it's actually dry by just running our fingernail through it. Seems to be pretty good. My first pass is going to be with 1500 grit sandpaper. So same thing we used earlier. And I'm just going to take it down as much as I can, going slowly, and then I'm going to add some water to make it blend in. Of course, we don't want to take off all the paint, because then we're just going to be removing all the effort that we put into it. Okay, looking good so far. Let's add some water. Much harder to see where to sand now. That's why I wanted to start off by sanding it dry. I'm just feeling for high spots. Still feel a little bump right here. All right, I think that's good enough with the 1500. So I'm gonna clean it up, and then let's see what's left. I think I might have missed a tiny little spot right here. This looks pretty good. This also looks good. So I will want to fix that right now. I'm going to clean this part and fill it in again. All right, let's let it dry once again. Well, it's been another 20 minutes, so let's try sanding this down, and then we can proceed with the process. Okay, that looks better. Now I'm going to take some of this fresh 2000 grit paper and go over all of the area that I have touched. It should feel nice and smooth once you are getting close. I forgot that I touched up this area as well, so I'm going to sand that down. I will be starting with this heavy cutting compound and a wool pad, and hopefully that will take out most of the big scratches, and then we're going to switch to a little bit nicer tool and get most of the finer stuff out. At least that's the theory. I'm trying to go pretty slow just because I'm not very familiar with this tool and I don't want to ruin the paint further. Well, on the surface, that looks really good. I mean, you can definitely tell there was something there, but comparing that to what it was like before, that looks pretty good. Let's keep going. Honestly, I am already so happy with the result. Yes, you can see a little bit of discoloration if you look at it at certain angles, but as soon as you go back, I don't know, 2 feet away from the car, it looks great. A little bit more right there. So there's a few areas to touch up. I'm gonna do that now. Let's see how it looks. Next, I will be using the show car glaze. So this should help polish and remove some of the scratches that are left. And I will be using this Vivor car polisher with this black pad. I'm just a lot more comfortable using one of these because it's a dual action one. So it's not as easy to mess up your paint. And that's why I'm not continuing with the spinning one, because those are very difficult to use. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can create huge swirls in the paint and things like that. So I'm using it the minimum amount, and then I'm gonna finish it with this. And this is also battery powered, so it should be nice and easy. You know, you can do it basically anywhere. Pretty cool tool, actually. In fact, for under $100, you get everything you need to get started. Inside the carrying bag, besides the manual, you get 4 sponge and 1 wool pad, 4 amp hour battery, the charger, some microfiber towels, and of course the tool itself. This polisher has variable speed, so you can adjust depending on the job you are doing and your confidence level. They also include the hex wrench for changing or tightening the spinning head. The trigger is lockable and it's actually pretty comfortable in the hand, especially since it also has what feels like a soft start. I got the 1 battery version of the tool, and after charging it, I used it for the 2 panels, and it's still at 2 bars. If you plan on doing more than a couple of hours of polishing, I would go for the 2 battery version, but otherwise 1 is enough. If you'd like to learn more information, check out the links in the description. Man, this car polisher makes it easy. Looks pretty good. Let me wipe it off. I'm very excited now. One more step. The last step I'm gonna do is apply this high-tech yellow wax. So just to protect the paint, and I'm gonna be using the softest pad that I have. Damn. Come on, guys, this looks really good. I mean, you can tell there's some imperfections here, but compared to what it was like before, like we can see over here, or even at the other door, it looks good. Well, guys, going into this project, I was very excited and hopeful, and then this was my result the first time around. That looks really bad, and hopefully I can fix it the second time around. So it's definitely not an easy project, and it's not as simple as YouTube videos make it look. I still have this door to do and refinish this, and there's parts of the front fender as well. Well, I'm not really sure what I wanted to accomplish with this video, but I just wanted to bring you along this process and show you that it can be done at home if you follow these steps, and it does look much better than it did before. Of course, you may have some trial and error like I did right here, so it may not always be as easy as YouTube makes it seem, but what is? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this video and this process. What have I missed? I'm sure I have. I'm not a professional detailer or anything like that. Anyway, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.